Well, good afternoon, folks. It's the real Captain Kirk here. It's Sunday, 4 September, again, Labor Day weekend here. Hope you're having a great one out there. I thought we'd do a real quick recap here of summer. Meteorological summer, which is 1 June through 31 August, is now officially in the history books. Here in the U.S., we pretty much almost tied last year's really hot summer, so a little 0.1 warmer than last year, warmest in 37 years. The big change was dry. We went from wet to dry, 20% drier than last year, driest in 10 years since 2012, about 12th driest the past 37 years. Canada was a little bit cooler, but still hot on the hot side. UK was the hot spot, number one, warmest in 37 years. Europe, number one, warmest in 37 years. Cold down in Australia for their winter. Again, coldest in 10 years down there. So again, feast or famine, again, but generally warm and dry was the theme here in the U.S. If we look at a last week's summer here, this is a week ending here yesterday, 3 September. Here in the U.S., again, another hot week, 3.2 degrees warmer than last year. Number one, warmest in 37 years, 50% drier than last year, below average rainfall. So again, hot, dry was a theme pretty much in Canada, UK, Europe, Russia. Cool spots were China, Australia, coolest in 5 years for both those areas, below average temperatures. Brazil, also coolest in 4, below average temperatures. Big map here again is the temperature trends versus last year on a retail calendar. And the maps inset left bottom there are trends versus average. Tropics have come to life for sure. We now have our fifth storm. It's Earl. Earl's likely to become a major hurricane, fish storm. It'll stay probably to the east of Bermuda and then out into the Atlantic. And then Danielle, also likely to be, again, a hurricane. So two hurricanes out there. Also watch system number 12 off the eastern Pacific heading toward the Baja California. Could bring some rain even to Southern California here. We'll see. The bigger event is actually this typhoon Hinamnor, I think is how you pronounce it. Again, was a Cat 5 equivalent. Now it's down to about a Cat 3. Still a pretty strong typhoon out there. As these head north, they tend to be a catalyst for changing our weather pattern here in the North America. Again, they head north toward Alaska, and they allow the cold air to come up. So you can kind of see this taking a trajectory, again, up toward the north, up over Alaska, and then down toward British Columbia and Canada. As it does that, again, it brings down colder weather for the west coast and eventually the pretty much entire U.S. So these catalysts, there's several behind this system that we need to watch here. But again, sign of a change here for the weather pattern here in the U.S. This week, not much of a change. Again, still hot in the west. Overall for the U.S., 2.6 degrees warmer than last year. Number one warmest in 37 years. Precip, again, just a hair above last year in terms of rainfall, 13% water. Much of that rain is going to be here where we need it in the parts of the Northeast. Been very parched, one of the driest summer in 20 years. Southeast, more rain. Again, fifth driest in 37 years nationally. So again, generally a warm, dryish week for most of the country. Week after that, we do start to see some signs of pattern change. You look at the west, again, we see that cooler temperature. So their really hot weather will change pretty dramatically. This will feel very noticeably different for sure for them on the west coast. A tad cooler, 0.5 cooler than last year on a national scale. Still fifth warmest in 37 years. Hot there in the central U.S. Map inset bottom left there shows still much cooler than, again, last year from the west into parts of the central U.S. and parts of the east. Rainfall, again, not much, 82% drier than last year. Number one driest in 37 years. We'll see. Again, it all takes the tropical systems. And again, with the Atlantic and the Gulf as warm as they are, we definitely need to watch that because we can certainly have something flare up quickly. So if you're in Florida, Gulf Coast, East Coast, Southeast Coast, definitely kind of keep an eye on the tropics here. We're peak of the season, and it's probably going to be a pretty active peak season here. Probably well into even early November. Normally it extends through late November, but again, this could be an active fall season for sure for the East Coast Atlantic hurricane season. We'll end here with a 2-week world aggregate. If we just aggregate these trends here over the next 2 weeks, start to see signs of that cooler weather heading in toward Alaska and Canada, and that'll eventually spill into the west and eventually spill pretty much nationwide here as we go into the latter half of September. Still pretty mild there in Western Europe. Russia cold, very cold there in southwest Russia and Australia, of course, going into their spring season. Again, still very cold for them as well. So with that, folks, we hope you have a great week. We will be back here a little earlier next week, probably on Saturday.